on Zaraz. We'll touch on that very soon. Joining from the Netherlands. And I'm going to talk about managed components, which is something that my team and I have been working on for quite some time. With the intention of making online third-party tools secure, fast, and private. I want to start with this, just the feedback we got yesterday from a user on the Discord channel. It's not to brag, really. It's because this feedback is actually not for Zaraz. This feedback is for the underlying technology, managed components, which is open source. And I'm going to try to convince you in this small presentation that the whole internet will be better if we all start using this. This is how third-party tools are implemented today. If you have a website, usually if you want to add something to it, for example, you want to add Google Analytics, or you want to add some embed or anything, you'll get some snippet that somebody will tell you, just throw this in the head of your HTML or somewhere in the body, and we'll take care of the rest. But it is pretty bad. It's bad for performance. Like the browser now needs to make a request for another server, and usually then like evaluate the code and make further requests. It's also bad for security, right? Because now you need to track also another server to provide secure code. And the moment that this JavaScript code is running in the browser, it has unlimited access to everything on the page. It can steal information, it can hijack the user, it can change the page in some undesired way. And it's also usually minified. So if you are the website owner and you would like to know what's going to happen if you include this script, it's not a very easy task. And lastly, it's bad for privacy because like the moment you've done this, now example.com has the IP address and the user agent of your visitors, which is illegal in some places without consent, but just problematic. Like even if you had no intention to share this information, it is just shared. There's just no other way to do it. So going a bit in the history of Zaraz, of our product, we started this before joining Cloudflare 3 years ago. Yair, who is on this call with me, was my co-founder. And we started by reverse engineering tens of tools. So we literally looked at that minified code, and we created a server-side implementation of this code. For example, we would take Google Analytics. We would see what information it collects from the browser, for like the page title, the page URL, the user agent, and so on. And we would create a server-side version of it that would send all the information to Google Analytics without loading any script inside the browser. It was great. It was faster. The code now was audited, or like you can finally audit it. It was secure, it was private. And since we're talking about performance here, on average, it improved websites' performance, lighthouse scores, by 40%, 40. So customers were very happy, but our system wasn't just better by design. It still allowed tools, like the tools that we wrote, to run JavaScript code that will run in the browser with unlimited privileges. It was just that we wrote this code, so we trusted it, and our customers trusted it. Then we joined Cloudflare, and we just couldn't handle, like there was now a lot more traffic. We were now on thousands of websites, and we couldn't just keep reverse engineering millions of tools and maintaining everything and so on. We wanted to have the vendors of these tools write their own integrations. And we had to come up with a new format that would be safe by design. So if we're now giving them the ability to write the integration, and like it was before, the integration could just run JavaScript code in the browser, we needed to come with a way to make that all secure. And then we thought, why not just let everyone use it? Like we're creating an environment that third-party tools are restricted from doing bad things and empowered to do things that are not possible for third-party tools today. And since this is something that the whole web needs, like when we were going to vendors and asking them, can you write an integration? We realized it would be a much easier choice for them if those integrations can be used not only with Zaraz. And this is how we came up with managed components. And with this slide, I'm going to do the one forbidden thing and just read from the slide. So this is an open source format for defining third-party tool behaviors on a website. Managed components can execute code server and client side, can embed widgets inside pages, can establish network connections, and can provide custom APIs. Managed components require a runtime environment to work, and we'll touch on this soon. But let's talk a bit about the benefits of writing managed components. When a vendor does that, they're getting a lot of things for free. First, there's now a unified events system inside the page. So there's no need to do like something like FBQ track for Facebook and then GA send for Google Analytics and TikTok track. You can just send one event and it reaches all the tools. Everything is set on the same domain, so the browser doesn't need to communicate with all of different servers and like do all the DNS lookups and all the handshakes and so on. Server logic means that the managed component can do like anything that the web server can do, right? So it can either generate dynamic responses or proxy a different server, serve static assets, and so on. Embeds is about, just like embeds today, but completely server-side rendered. So the browser does not need, if you include, for example, a tweet embed, the browser doesn't need to contact Twitter servers at all. And the whole tweet embed will appear as if it was first-party content inside the page. Client-side events, these are like things like mouse move, visibility change. There's no need to now support a lot of different browsers and like cross-platform. The whole thing is provided with one listener that is working across different devices, different browsers, and so on. And one exciting thing is the pre-page rendering actions, which means that, well, previously a third-party tool can only start acting once it is loaded in the page, right? So like the browser will start rendering the page, we then load JavaScript code, and only then it can start doing something. Pre-page rendering actions mean that the tool can already learn about the request from the moment the request was when it arrived in the origin. And it can manipulate and read the response before the browser even receives it. So for analytics tools, for example, this can be way more accurate. Let's see a simple example. So this managed component here, all it does is listens to a page view event. And whenever there's a page view, it sends a post request to this endpoint, example.com/collect. And it serves, the payload includes the current URL and the IP address. Obviously, this is a very simple example of an analytics tool. But the nice thing about these analytics tools is that, well, no client-side JavaScript code is presented in the browser at all. Nothing needs to be evaluated, downloaded, or sent from the browser. This is a slightly more complex example that shows the server-side functionality of managed components. You can see how we can proxy an endpoint on the same domain, proxy a remote server. We can serve some static assets, and we can just register a route on the same server, and just define whatever functionality we want for it. I said that there is this runtime environment. This is the component manager. So something needs to run all this managed component code. And this is the component manager. It's responsible for a few things. The first of them is to implement the API. So it needs to dispatch all these events. For example, dispatch this page view event that we saw before. Whenever the browser renders the page, it needs to dispatch the response event when the response is being sent, or the mouse move when it detects a mouse move in the browser. It also provides all this server-side capabilities like the proxying and the routing and so on. And it provides a lot of caching and storage solutions, both that are client-specific, so it abstracts cookies and local storage and so on. And it also, there's also a caching system and a key value storage system that is website-wide that the tool can use. And it enforces the configuration that the website desired. So like what managed component to load, when, what events it should receive, and what permissions to grant it. So Cloudflare Zaraz is actually a component manager. This is our proprietary component manager, and it runs just like everything else pretty much on Cloudflare. It's a proxy for your website that runs on the edge. But the API that we're designing for managed components is it doesn't have to run on the edge or doesn't have to run as a proxy server. It is actually meant to be completely agnostic of it. So it can be written as an express middleware, for example, and even as a client-side service worker. Obviously, it will not give you all the benefits if you run it inside the browser, but some of them for sure. Yeah. So everything until now is pretty much what I was already describing. We had a call, I can't remember, sometime later, yeah, I think October 2022. But now I'm going to talk about what we have already now. So we open sourced WebCM. WebCM is just like Cloudflare Zaraz, but open source version of it that is node based. And we have people using it, and we have people writing, like submitting pull requests for it and so on. It can run all the managed components. I mean, it supports the same standard just like Cloudflare Zaraz does. Then we took everything that was in the Zaraz library. So we have like more than 30 tools, and we converted everything to a managed component, and we open sourced all of that. That lives in this GitHub organization managed components that is written down. We already have vendor created components. So Crazy Egg, the session recording tool, wrote a managed component that records, records sessions and everything. That is just in a way that is much more performant, secure, and private. And we have community created components. So some people even on this call wrote components to support tools that they needed to use, like TikTok, Snowplow, and a bunch of others. That's all about the open source part. Now about Cloudflare Zaraz, we're now used by more than 20,000 websites. 10,000 of them are using Zaraz to load Google Analytics 4. 5,000 using it to go for Google Analytics 3, and 2,000 using it to load the Facebook Pixel. I find quite amazing that we have 10,000 websites loading Google Analytics 4 without any client-side code whatsoever. And coming up very soon is the ability to load your own custom managed components. This is something you can do in WebCM already, but in Zaraz you will be able to do it very, very soon. And also embeds. And as a teaser, I'll show you this example. So this Twitter embed, it appears in the page just like the normal Twitter embed does, just much faster, because it comes with the HTML of the page as the HTML response is being sent to the browser. Other than that, it behaves. We've done our best to make it behave exactly the same. But it also doesn't expose the IP address, the user agent, and so on, because the browser doesn't talk with Twitter at all when it presents this. And lastly, this is about where we want to go from here. We want to start this community group that will work on managed components. The idea is to have a group that represents vendors, browsers, infrastructures and users, and to work on the standard for managed components in a way that would align everybody's goals, and perhaps come with draft proposals for the browser and the runtimes. With the big goal of having a standard way finally on the internet to deploy fast and safe third-party tools. That is all. So happy to take any questions.
Let me stop the recording and we can discuss.